Yeah, everybody, my name is Lowell, and welcome to the channel. So we've got an interesting video to react to today. This is going to be the top 10 oldest cities in the UK. Now, I'm assuming these are all going to be in England. There's a lot of history in the UK. There've been people there for a long, long time. So let's jump in and let's have a look at these ones, shall we?
So what are the oldest cities in the United Kingdom? Well, there are 10 that are so old that they predate the record books themselves and are said to have held their city
Okay.
status since time immemorial. Before I dive into the list though, I should explain briefly what constitutes a city in the UK. In short, there are two kinds: those with an Anglican cathedral, which alone qualifies them by ancient prescriptive right, and those who were granted city status following an application. The latter kind came about during Queen Victoria's reign, where many industrial towns became cities. But we're here to focus on the former, specifically those whose founding date is unknown, mostly on account of the poor record keeping of the Saxons. For perspective, the oldest UK city with a definitive date is believed to be Durham, founded in AD 995, assuming
Wow.
the records of the time are accurate. So the 10 oldest cities in order from north to south, rather than chronological order, as that part is unknown, are as follows. Number 1. Originally a Roman settlement founded in AD 71 under the name Eboracum, the city of York is situated at the confluence of the River Ouse and River Foss, and it became a suitable outpost at which the Romans could suppress the local tribe, the Brigantes. In the 4th century, Emperor Constantine the
Wow.
Great was declared Roman Emperor in York, and he became the first to allow Christians to worship freely, and by the year 314, Eboracum had its first bishop. In the 7th century, the Saxons came and named it Eoforwic, with the wic suffix suggesting that it was a trading centre. In 601, Pope Gregory sent a mission to convert the British to Christianity. He selected York to be the church's centre in the north. In 735, York became an archbishopric. In AD 866, the Danish Vikings conquered Eoforwic and put their own Scandinavian spin on it, naming it Jorvik, and made it their effective capital in the British Isles. Its iconic cathedral, York Minster, or to give it its official name, the Cathedral and Metropolitical Church of St. Peter in York, was consecrated in 1472 on the site of an old Saxon church believed to date from the 7th century, which
God, some of those numbers are so far back in time, it's ridiculous to think about. I have been to York once, when I lived in the UK. Just to think that history is wrapped around that area, that hub, man, that's a lot of history. A
in
lot of
turn was
history.
on the site of the old Roman Basilica. This is,
Oh,
of course,
wow.
the seat of the Archbishop of York. Number 2. In the 6th century, St. Dainiol founded a monastery in a settlement in the area we now refer to as North Wales. This became
Okay.
known as Bangor, meaning wattled enclosure in Old Welsh. Dainiol became the first bishop of Bangor in the Kingdom of Gwynedd. On the site of the original monastery is Bangor Cathedral, which was built in the 12th and 13th centuries. Restorations took place over the centuries following various attacks, including one instance when King John destroyed it during a raid on Gwynedd.
Wow.
Bangor is the oldest city in Wales, or to put it another way, the oldest city in the UK outside of England.
Wow. That's some age. Wow.
Number
Okay.
3. In the 7th century, St. Chad, Bishop of Mercia, declared this city his bishop's seat. The settlement was Lichfield, and it became
Okay.
the focal point of Christianity in the Kingdom of Mercia.
Okay.
Following Chad's death in 672, Lichfield became a place of pilgrimage. A Saxon church was built, which became his resting place. In the same spot, the Normans built a new cathedral from the year 1085. The construction of the present cathedral began in
Wow.
1195,
Wow. Look at that church. Wow.
featuring the UK's only medieval triple spire. Number 4. Very little is known about the Roman history of this city, but the Saxon settlers discovered a fort here and named it Weargorna Sestra, though the meaning of Weargorna is unclear. Nevertheless, the name evolved to Worcester. In the 7th century, the first cathedral at Worcester was built, which became the
I'm just trying to picture people trying to say that source. Gets me every time.
seat of the Bishop of the Hwickers. Hwicker was a tribal kingdom existing from the 6th to the 8th century, situated around the area equating approximately to parts of Worcestershire, Warwickshire, and Gloucestershire of today.
I must say, I'm loving all the Tudor buildings. Man, so much history. I didn't realize, obviously, as I said, the UK is an old country. Um, obviously in different forms, not the UK, but man, when you actually hear it laid out, all those numbers and years and characters from history, wow.
Worcester was its capital. With the Viking invasion and subsequent establishment of the Danelaw in the 9th century, Worcester became a burh, i.e. a fortified settlement, as part of a move by King Ethelred and his wife Ethelfled to solidify the kingdom of Mercia against the Danish threat to the east. From the late 11th to the 16th century, a second cathedral was built in Worcester in a range of architectural styles from Norman to Perpendicular Gothic. Number 5. In the 7th century, Bishop Putta became the first bishop of this city and is believed to have been responsible for the construction of the first cathedral here. The city is Hereford. The name Hereford is believed to derive from Old English for army river crossing. It was a frontier settlement which saw various conflicts between the Anglo-Saxons and not only the native Welsh but the Danes as well. In 1079, the Normans began the construction of the current Hereford Cathedral on the site of its Saxon predecessor. Work continued into the 13th century.
It's a real shame we don't build cathedrals like that anymore. The workmanship in that is just amazing. Amazing.
Number 6. Now, here's where things get a bit technical. In the eyes of the law, the City of London, with emphasis on the city, refers to the approximate area the Romans inhabited from the 1st century AD, also called the square mile. This is actually both a city and a ceremonial county in its own right, and an enclave surrounded by the ceremonial county of Greater London. In the 9th century, Alfred the Great is believed to have come across the old Roman fortifications and turned it into a Saxon fortified settlement that could better withstand Viking attacks than the previous base, believed to be around the Covent Garden area, with 2 street names of today providing clues, as in Old English, Strand means beach and Aldwych means old trading centre. Following the establishment of the Archdiocese of Canterbury, a cathedral was constructed in London in the 7th century and was dedicated to St Paul. This has gone through various iterations up to the present structure designed by Christopher Wren in the aftermath of the Great Fire of 1666. Number 7. Before the Romans came, this area was home to a tribe known as the Cantiaci, from which the name of both the city and its county, Kent, derive. The city, of course, being Canterbury. After the Claudian invasion of AD 43, the Romans established a military base which they called Duravernum Cantiacorum. This became the principal trading centre for the surrounding area. Around AD 270, defensive walls were put in place, which remain in place to this day, albeit with various reworkings. In the 6th century, the Jutes established the Kingdom of Kent, with Canterbury becoming its capital. In AD 597, St Augustine arrived in England on a mission to convert its inhabitants to Christianity. In doing so, Augustine became the first Archbishop of Canterbury. By the 9th century, it was firmly established as the centre of the English Church. This did, however, mark it out as a target for the Danish Vikings across multiple generations.
To me, does that building look like it's just about to fall over? I don't know, something weird about the front windows in that building.
In 1011, Canterbury Cathedral was burnt following the capture of Archbishop Alphege. The cathedral was rebuilt and subsequently burnt on 2 more occasions before being built in stone. It was the site of the martyrdom of Thomas Becket in 1170 by the Knights of Henry II, and subsequently became a place of pilgrimage.
Mm.
Number 8. England's smallest city is also among its oldest, named after the wells in the grounds of the Bishop's Palace and the cathedral. The city of Wells is believed to have originated as a small Roman settlement. In the early 8th century, King Ine of Wessex chose Wells as the site of a minster church. By the early 10th century, the Diocese of Wells had been founded by King Edward the Elder. This diocese moved to Bath in the Norman period, but as a compromise, a joint diocese was later set up between the two, but officially returned exclusively to Wells in the 13th century, several decades after the
Wow.
construction had begun on Wells Cathedral. Number 9. The first inhabitants of this city are believed to be the Belgae tribe. The Romans arrived here shortly after the Claudian invasion of AD 43 and established their own settlement, which they called Venta Belgarum. The meaning of Venta is uncertain, but believed to be a Brythonic word for market. When the Saxons discovered the abandoned Roman settlement, they named it Venta Casta, meaning Fort of Venta, which evolved into Winchester. In the 7th century, a church was
Wow.
built here,
Okay.
and in AD 676, the Bishop of Wessex moved his seat to Winchester, effectively making it a cathedral. The Normans would later demolish this in the late 11th century and begin to build in its place the present Winchester Cathedral, although work continued until the 16th century. In AD 871, Alfred the Great was crowned King of Wessex and established Winchester as its capital. When England became united as a single kingdom in the 10th century, Winchester remained the capital until the 12th century.
Oh, okay.
Number 10. In the 1st century AD, the Romans ventured into an area of the southwestern British Isles, where they founded Isca Dumnoniorum, a name which references the Dumnoni tribe who predated the Romans, and to whom the county Devon is named after. The city was of course Exeter, and was situated at the southwestern terminus of the ancient Roman road known as the Fosse Way. In the 7th century, the Saxons settled in the ruins of the abandoned Roman settlement, which they named Escancester, whose name evolved to Exeter. Having been subject to various Viking attacks, it was fortified in the 10th century by King Athelstan. In the year 1003, disaster struck as the Vikings plundered the city after they were let in through the gates.
Oh, of
Although more or less
course
reduced
they
to
did.
rubble, Exeter recovered, and by 1050, Exeter
Some of the sides of these cathedrals and churches, and they're just massive, aren't they? They are massive.
Cathedral
Wow.
was founded. From the early 12th century, it was rebuilt by the Normans. And those are the 10 oldest cities in the United Kingdom as it pertains to city status. And to reiterate, in no particular chronological order, as their dates of foundation will remain a mystery. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe. All the footage featured comes courtesy of my flagship channel, 4K Explorer. So if you'd like to see the
Wow.
complete walks of these cities, you can find a link to the channel in the description below. Have a great day.
That was very interesting. I know there's a lot of numbers, a lot of dates, a lot of, people that he was saying there, but just to get that sense of how old, the UK, England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland is, there's a lot of history there, a lot of history. And the good thing is, obviously, they've still got those cathedrals and everything there to represent that. Um, so that was amazing. That was very interesting. I found that very interesting. I'm a bit of a history buff myself. Obviously, I'm originally from the UK, from Scotland. Unfortunately, Scotland wasn't represented in this case. We do have some old towns, obviously, up in Scotland as well too, but obviously not quite as old as the ones in England and in Wales as well. But man, some of those towns, very ancient towns, very, very ancient towns, a lot of history in them, a lot of, kings, getting crowned there, a lot of battles for that area as well, obviously against the Vikings and Normans and everything else clashing, to make the UK what it is today. But That was very interesting. I enjoyed that immensely. Enjoyed that immensely. He's a very good storyteller. Definitely need to go and check out his other channel as well too. So if you want more information, I'll leave his links in the description there. You can go and check out any of those cities and go for a city walk with them along there. But that was very interesting. Very, very interesting. Let me know, guys, what you thought of that. Thank you very much for joining me today. Make sure you stay safe, and I will definitely see you in the next reaction video. Oh, you're still here? You want more content? Why don't you check out my Patreon down here? You'll get plenty more content and some exclusive videos over there too. If not, why not check out this one over here?